A boiled bread pudding. Take a pound of the crumbs of French rolls, boil a pint of new milk and pour upon it. Take the yolks of 7 eggs and the whites of 3, beat very well and mix with the milk and bread. Grate in a little nutmeg, butter your cloth, pour in your pudding, tie it up tight and boil it an hour. For sauce, plain butter. A boiled custard pudding. Take a quart of cream and boil with 6 laurel leaves. Set it to cool and break 14 eggs, leave out the whites of 5, and beat them very well. Sweeten to your taste. Put in your sugar when the cream is on the fire, that it may dissolve and mix with the cream. Then, when it is cold, mix the eggs with it. Have a very fine cloth to boil it in. Rub some butter on your cloth. Put on your pudding. Tie it tight. Put it into boiling water and let it boil an hour. Grate sugar all over the dish. Turn in the pudding and send it up. To make a calf's feet pudding. Take half a pound of calf's feet meat after it is boiled tender, and all the bones separated from the meat. Blanch half a pound of Jordan almonds, and shred the calf's feet and almonds as small as possible. Pick and wash half a pound of currants, and mix with the feet. Add a little sugar, and a little grated nutmeg. Beat up the yolks of 8 eggs in a gill of thick cream. Mix all well together. Lay puff paste all over a dish. Put on the pudding and send it to the oven. Half an hour will bake it. A boiled calf's feet pudding. Take half a pound of calf's feet and half a pound of beef suet and shred very small. Half a pound of picked currants, a quarter of a pound of raisins, and mix all together. Soak the crumb of a penny loaf in new milk. Break 5 eggs and beat and mix all well together. Butter a cloth, put on your pudding, boil it an hour and a half, grate sugar all over the dish, and turn on your pudding. Have for sauce butter and sugar. Pour it over the pudding and send it up. To make an almond pudding. Blanch half a pound of Jordan almonds and beat them in a marble mortar to paste. Take 3 gills of thick sweet cream and sweeten to your taste. Add to it 2 pennyworth of orange flower water. Take 7 eggs, leaving out the whites of 4, and mix all together. Laying puff paste over the dish, pour on your pudding and bake it in an oven 3/4 of an hour. A gooseberry pudding. Take half a pound of butter, break into it a pound of flour, and rub it small. Beat 2 yolks of eggs in a gill of water. Take as much of this as you need to work the butter and flour into a paste. Roll it into a sheet. Let it be thin round the edge. Put in a quart of gooseberries and near a quarter of a pound of powdered sugar. Then rub it round the edge of the paste with water. Gather it up together close. Put it into a pudding cloth. Tie it and boil it an hour. For sauce, plain butter and sugar. A prune pudding. Take a pound and a half of flour and a pint of new milk and mix it with. Beat 6 eggs and mix with the milk and flour. Then take a pound of prunes, half a pound of stoned raisins, and half a pound of currants. Mix all with the flour and milk, and let it boil 3 hours. For sauce, have plain melted butter and sugar, and a little rose water. Grate sugar all over the dish. Turn on the pudding, and so send it to table. A marrow pudding. Take half a pound of marrow and cut very small, 3/4 of a pound of flour, half a pound of stoned raisins, and half a pound of well-picked currants. Mix all well together with 5 eggs, a gill of cream, and grate in some nutmeg. Put the pudding in a cloth and boil it 2 hours. Grate sugar over the dish and have sweet sauce. A French bean pudding. Take a quart of young French beans, boil and blanch them, and beat them in a mortar to a fine paste. Add to it a glass of verjuice, a quarter of a pound of powdered sugar, half a pound of butter, and 7 eggs, the whites of 3 left out. Beat all well together. Lay a puff paste on the dish, pour on the pudding, and bake it 3/4 of an hour. For sauce, have melted butter, white wine, and sugar. A ratafia pudding. Take a quart of sweet cream and boil 6 laurel leaves 2 minutes. Take them out and let the cream stand till it be cold. Then take half a pound of flour and mix with the cream, and beat 6 eggs and mix all together. Add a little salt. Butter your pudding cloth. Pour in the pudding. Tie it tight and boil it an hour and a half. Grate sugar all over the dish. Have sweet sauce. Turn in your pudding and send it up. A tansy pudding. Grate the crumbs of 2 penny French rolls, beat up 8 eggs with a pint of cream, and mix the bread with it. Then take a handful of tansy and a handful of spinach, and beat in a mortar. Squeeze the juice through a sieve into the pudding, and sweeten to your taste. Take 1/4 pound of butter into a frying pan. Pour your tansy into the pan. Set it over a clear fire or stove, and stir it all the time till it is thick. Then put it into a dish and let it stand half an hour in an oven. Then cut a Seville orange into 8 parts, and set round the dish. Have for sauce white wine and sugar. A jelly tansy. Take a quart of sweet cream and the yolks of 12 eggs, and sweeten to your taste. Take a handful of tansy and a handful of green wheat and beat in a mortar. Squeeze the juice through a hair sieve. Put it to the cream and yolks of eggs. Mix it well together, and set it 10 minutes in a slow oven. Garnish with orange. An herby pudding. Take a pint of groats and boil half an hour in water, and put them into a sieve to drain the water from them. Then take green thyme, parsley, sweet marjoram, pot marjoram, dates, and young onions of each an equal quantity. Cut them very small and mix with the groats. Then take a gill of thick cream and the yolks of 10 eggs, and mix all well together with a little salt. Then butter a cloth and tie it in, and boil it an hour. Have plain butter for sauce. A liver pudding. Take the liver of a good calf and cut 1/2 into inch-thick slices. Take a quart of water into a broad hash pan. Set it on a hot stove. When it boils, put in the sliced liver, and let it boil 5 minutes. Then take it up and cut it very small on a shredding board. Take half the weight of the liver of beef suet, and mix with it. Add green thyme, parsley, sweet marjoram, chives cut small, nutmeg, pepper, and salt, and beat 6 eggs and mix with it. Put it into a pudding cloth, and boil it 3/4 of an hour. For sauce, have gravy and butter. Apple dumplings. Take large apples, pare and core them. Make a cold paste, and roll out a sheet for each apple. Cut a lemon skin very small, and put a little into the middle of each 4/4 of the apple, but no sugar. It may be sweetened at the table as people like. Roll up 1 apple in every sheet of paste. Take care to leave no room for the water to enter in, and boil them 3/4 of an hour. Have butter and sugar to eat the dumplings with. To make spice dumplings. Take a 1/4 pound of butter and a gill of cream, and boil together. Work it up with flour. Add to it some cinnamon beat fine, and grate in some nutmeg, a 1/4 pound of stoned raisins, and some currants. Make them into little dumplings and fry them. Then grate sugar over them. For sauce, have plain melted butter and sugar. An omelette of eggs. Take 12 eggs and beat well. Boil 1/2 of asparagus and cut the green ends small, and mix with the eggs. Then make some clarified butter hot in a frying pan on a stove or clear fire, into which put the eggs and grass cast over them, a little pepper and salt. and fry them a nice brown. The omelette will be an inch thick. Lay it on a dish and garnish with parsley. Have vinegar and butter for sauce. Clary pancakes. Make a batter of a gill of cream, 4 eggs, and 4 spoonfuls of flour, a glass of sack. Grate a little nutmeg, and beat all well together. Take a large leaf of clary and wash it clean. Take some clarified butter into a frying pan and pour in half of your batter. And lay on your clary leaf. Cover it with the other half of your batter, and fry it very crisp on both sides. Have sugar and hot white wine for sauce, and grate sugar round the dish. Wafer pancakes. Take a pint of cream, 3 spoonfuls of flour, and 5 eggs. Then put a slice of butter into a piece of thin linen cloth. Take a girdle and set on a clear fire. Rub the buttered cloth over the bottom of it and pour on a large spoonful of batter. So fry them very quick and crisp. Ratafia pancakes. Boil 6 laurel leaves in a pint of milk. Take them out and set the milk to cool. Then beat up 4 eggs with a little of the milk and flour, and add the remainder of the milk. Let the batter be thin, and take a frying pan. Put into it a slice of butter and let it be hot, and pour in your batter, but not to make your pancakes thick. Fry them crisp, and send them single to the table hot. Apple fritters. Make a batter of a gill of cream, flour, and 4 eggs. Let it be thick and beat it half an hour. Add to it a glass of orange flower water. Grate in a little nutmeg and cinnamon, finely beat and sifted, and sweeten it with loaf sugar. Cut off the skins of some large pippins, and cut round slices off them, taking out the seeds. Then take a pint of clarified butter or hog's lard into a little hash pan, and set it over a clear stove. When it is hot, dip each sliced apple into the batter, and boil it up, turning each fritter, and they will be as round as balls. Grate sugar over them, and send them up. To fry cream. Take a pint of cream and sweeten it to your taste. Grate in some nutmeg and mix with it. Cut a large slice round a 6-penny loaf, an inch thick and square. Lay it on a clean board and pour on the cream by degrees, so as to let the bread soak most of it up, and have some clarified butter in a frying pan upon a clear stove or fire. Let the butter be hot, and with a knife cut the bread into inch-square dices. Fry them crisp in the clarified butter, and put them on a dish. Grate sugar all over them, and send them up. A calf foot jelly. First, scald a gang of calf feet. Scrape off all the hair very clean, and take off the hoofs. Have a very clean pot with 2 gallons of soft water. Put in your feet, and let them boil softly till there is 3 quarts. Then strain it into an earthen pot. Let it stand till it is cold, and take all the fat off the top. Put the stock into a clean pan. Beat the whites of 8 eggs to a froth and add to it, with the juice of 3 lemons and the skin of 1, 3/4 pound of single refined sugar, and mix all well together with a pint of Rhenish wine. Set the pan on a stove or clear fire, and have a clean flannel bag ready to run it through. When it boils, pour it into the bag, and let it run into a basin. Put it into the bag again till it runs off very clear. Then you may glass it or put it in basins. When it is cold, you may get 3 laurel leaves, lay them upon the top of the basin, and with your finger loosen the jelly from the side. Whelm a dish on the basin, turn the jelly upside down, and it makes a pretty globe. To make hartshorn jelly. Take half a pound of hartshorn shavings and put into a pan with 2 quarts of water. and let it boil till 1/2 is consumed. Then strain it off, and take the whites of 5 eggs beat to a froth, 1/4 pound of sugar, a gill of Rhenish, the juice of a lemon, and a stick of cinnamon. Mix all well together and set on the fire. When it boils, strain it through a flannel bag, as above directed. To make calf foot flummery. Take the stock of a gang of calf's feet, after they are boiled and cooled, and the top taken off and the bottom left. Let your pan be clean, and put in this stock into a clean pan. Beat 1/4 pound of bitter almonds and put to it, and sweeten to your taste, and let it boil 1/2 an hour. Then take a pint of cream and add to it, and strain it through a clean linen cloth into a delf bowl, and keep it stirring till it is almost cold. Then put it into shapes of various forms, such as scallops, shells, hearts, etc. After you have set them to jelly, when you want them for use, you must press them round with your fingers, which will loosen them, and make them turn out smooth and easy on your dishes. To make hartshorn flummery. Take 1/2 pound of the shavings of hartshorn, 2 ounces of isinglass, and 3 quarts of water boiled to 3 pints over a slow fire. Strain it through a jelly bag, and put it into a clean pan again, and set it on a clear fire. Add to it a stick of cinnamon, and let it boil to a quart, and sweeten to your taste. Then put to it a little orange flower water and a gill of cream, and strain it off through a linen cloth, and stir it till it is almost cold. Then put it into sundry shapes as above directed. To make leech. Boil the stock of calf's feet as strong as for flummery, and clear them with the whites of eggs, lemon juice, white wine, sugar, and powder 2 pennyworth of cochineal, and boil with it. Strain it through a jelly bag, and put it into flummery shapes. Steeple cream. Beat and sift through a hair sieve 1 pound of double refined sugar, and take 1/4 pound of currant jelly and the whites of 2 eggs into a china or delf bowl, and beat it an hour with a silver spoon. It is a pretty side dish. Rasp cream. Take 1 quart of cream, 1/4 pound of rasp juice. Mix the cream with the rasp juice, and put it into a china bowl. Take a chocolate stick and mill up the cream as you do chocolate. Turn up the bottom of a clean hair sieve, and as the froth rises on your cream, take it off with a spoon and lay it on your sieve, and when it will cast no more froth, pour it into the dish and heap it up with the froth. To make currant cream. Take 1 quart of cream and put into a china bowl, and mill it up in the above manner, laying the froth on the bottom of a hair sieve, and when you have froth sufficient to make a large heap, take 1/4 pound of currant jelly and mix with the cream. Put it into the dish and heap it up with the froth. Lemon cream. Take 1 quart of cream and sweeten to your taste. Squeeze into it the juice of a lemon, and put it into a china or delf bowl, and mull as aforesaid, putting up the froth upon it. Cut the lemon into small shreds, and lay the froth over and round the dish. A whip posset. Take 1 quart of cream and sweeten to your taste. Add a glass of orange flower water to it. Then put a pint of sack into a quart glass bowl, and mill up the cream. Lay the froth on a hair sieve to drain the milk from it, and let it lie on it 1/2 an hour before you lay it on the sack. Be careful to keep a steady hand as you drop it from the spoon, and heat the glass bowl with froth. A croquant. Take wet or dry sweet meats, and fill a dish as full as for a pie. Then take a deep dish of the same breadth of the other that your sweetmeats are in. Turn it upside down and cover it with a sheet of paste of milk and sugar boiled, wrought with flour. Then roll it out thin and cut it out in various shapes and forms. Bake it on the dish and take great care not to have any burnt spots on it. When it is enough, take it out of the dish and set it upon the sweetmeats. Sweetmeat tarts. Turn up the bottom of a tart pan and cut out of a sheet of common raised paste with your Jaeger irons into strings, no broader than tape, 3 yards a penny. Rub the outside of your tart pan with a little butter, and lay over your paste. Cross it into diamond figures, and bake it in as many as will make a dish. Put preserved plums, cherries, or gooseberries into saucers, and set the diamond paste covers over your preserves. To make glazed tarts. Fill your tart pans with sweetmeats. Make a paste of double refined sugar beat and sifted. Take the whites of 3 eggs and a little orange flower water, and beat an hour to an icing. Then lay round the edge of your tart pan a little of this icing, and cover it with wafer paper. And with a pair of scissors, clip the wafer paper close to the edge of the tart pan. Then lay over a thin icing and set it in a slow oven 5 minutes. Do as many as your icing will make. You are not to put any syrup in with your preserved plums, gooseberries, or cherries, or any other thing. To make tart puff paste. Mix flour and fair water into paste. Take the same weight of butter and divide it into 3 parts. Roll out the paste 3 times and lay on 1 part of the butter each time, dashing on a little flour over the butter every time. This paste is for fine puddings and tarts, but is too rich for pies. Crisp paste for tarts. Take 3 pints of flour and 5 ounces of butter. Rub the butter into the flour as small as possible, so that the least piece of butter cannot be seen, so that all the flour be as if no butter was in it by being so mealy. Then take 6 eggs, leaving out the whites of 2, and put 3 spoonfuls of water. Mix this paste and roll it out almost as thin as wafers. Bake it crisp, and if it be kept till it softens, setting it a while before the fire crispens it again. To make light wigs. Rub 6 ounces of butter into 3 pounds of fine flour and take a quart of milk. Beat up 3 eggs and half a pound of powdered sugar. Warm the milk and mix with the sugar, flour, and eggs well together. Add 2 spoonfuls of fresh yeast. Mix all well together and set it an hour before the fire to rise. Then put half an ounce of caraway seeds and roll out your wigs. Let them stand on a board before the fire to rise, before you set them into the oven. Bath cakes. Take a pound of flour and a pint of milk. Beat up 3 eggs with a spoonful of yeast. Mix all together and set in a bowl before the fire. When it has risen very high, take half a pound of butter and half a pound of sugar, and work into it with your hands. Add a little rose water. Grate a nutmeg, beat a little cinnamon and mix thereto. Then bake them in a queen cake pan. Some plain and some you may put currants into. A pound cake. Take a pound of loaf sugar, beat and sift it through a sieve. Add to it a pound of eggs and a little rose water. Beat it till it turns very thick and white. Then take a pound of butter and beat up with your hand to a cream. The eggs and sugar beat with a whisk. Then take a pound of very fine flour, dry it before the fire, and mix all with your hand half an hour. Add to it an ounce of caraway seeds. Put it into a pan and bake it an hour and a half. A fruit cake. Take 8 pounds of currants and pick them clean. Stone 3 pounds of raisins and cut them small. Beat cinnamon, mace, and nutmeg of each half an ounce. Cloves 1/4 of an ounce. 1.5 pounds of Jordan almonds blanched and cut very small, and the hot spice to be powdered. Then take 3 pounds of butter and beat to cream. Mix it with 14 eggs, and take 4 pounds of flour and mix with the butter and eggs. Add a gill of brandy, a gill of sack, and a little new yeast. Beat it till it is light, then put in the hot spices and cut almonds. Mix them well together, and then put in the fruit. Beat and mix all well together. Then cut a pound of orange and lemon peel, half a pound of citron cut into thin slices, and grease your pan with butter. Lay in your cake at 3 layers. On each lay the lemon and orange peel, and citron intermixed. When it is all in and your cake packed close in the cake pan, set it into an oven. It will take 4 hours baking. To make queen cakes, take half a pound of butter and beat up to cream. Beat and sift half a pound of loaf sugar. Beat 4 eggs and mix with the sugar. And beat the eggs and sugar a quarter of an hour before you mix your butter. Then weigh half a pound of flour, setting it before the fire on a dish 10 minutes before you mix your butter, and so mix all together. Add to it a glass of orange flower water, and beat it half an hour longer with your hand. Then put them into pans and bake them in a slow oven, which is much better for these cakes than any other. To preserve plums. Take large magnum plums and let their stalks be kept on. And to every pound of plums take 1.5 pounds of double refined sugar. Then to every pound of sugar put a gill of water, and put it into a clean preserving pan. Boil it near to candy height, and with a penknife make a very little slit at the end of each plum and take off the skin. Set them upon their ends with the stalk end uppermost in an earthen pot, and pour on your syrup to the plums. Cover them up and let them stand 3 days. By which time the syrup will be thin. You must put it into your pan and boil it up till it will rope. Pour it upon the plums and let them stand a week. If your syrup be thin, boil it up again to a ropey thickness, and pour upon your plums, and let them stand a fortnight. If the syrup keeps substance, put up your plums in pots, cover them with papers and bladders, and keep them for your use. To candy the above plums. Take magnum plums, cut off all the plum, but leave the stone and stalk together. The plums must not be ripe, but at their full growth. Take great care to have a sharp knife, and not to separate the stone from the stalk. Take the weight of the plums of double refined sugar. Put the plums and sugar into a pot, and set them into a slow oven 2 hours. Set the plum stones and stalks into the sun to dry. Then take out the plums and mix them with their syrup. Put them through a hair sieve and press through all their pulp. Put them through a hair sieve and press through all their pulp, and put into your preserving pan, and boil it to a plum paste. Make on the stalk the form of a plum with this paste, and dry them in cool ovens or in the sun. When they are thoroughly dried, boil up double refined sugar, candy height, and dip in each plum 1 by 1. Set them on their ends on a flat-bottomed Delft dish, and when the candy is dry, take up each plums with a thin, sharp knife. To preserve green gages. Take to every pound of green gages 1.5 pounds of sugar. Take the plums and set on a slow fire to scald. When they are ready, take off all their skins, and put the plums into the water they were scalded in. Add to them a little piece of alum beat to a powder. Cover the plums with plum tree leaves, and set them a great distance from the fire till they be green. Then take them out, set them on a flat-bottomed dish with their stalks up, and when they are drained, put them into a broad pot in the same way. Boil up your sugar to a thick syrup. Pour it over your plums, cover them up, and let them stand 2 days. Boil up the syrup again till it will rope. Pour it on your plums, and let them stand a week. Boil the syrup as strong up as before. Pour it over the plums. When they have stood a fortnight, if the syrup be any thinner, boil it up again. Then you may put them into pots for use, and tie them close with white paper and bladders. Currant jelly. Strip the currants of their stalks. When they are thoroughly ripe, put them into a jar, and set them into an oven or a pot of hot water. When the berries are thoroughly hot, so as to discharge their juice, strain it through a flannel bag, and to every gill of this juice put a pound of double refined sugar. Put it into a brass pan clean scoured, and boil it over a stove till it becomes a thick jelly, scumming it all the time. Then put it in glasses or pots for use. If you have any rasps, you may put a quart into the currants. The currants, after the juice is run from them, will make a small wine. To make rasp jam. After you have picked all the worms and greens out of the rasps, take their weight of loaf sugar and put into a preserving pan. Set it over a clear stove. Let it boil till you see it stiff, and take great care to keep stirring it. When it begins to fly in sparks, take it off, and put it in pots or glasses. Cover it with white paper dipped in brandy, and put bladders over it. To preserve rasps whole, take a pint of the juice of currants, add to it 3 pounds of double refined sugar. Put into a preserving pan upon a clear stove, and boil it to a very strong jelly. Then have a quart of fine-picked rasps. Put them into the jelly. Let them boil 5 minutes, and put them into glasses. To preserve gooseberries. Take gooseberries when at their full growth. Cut a nick on each side, and with a pin pick out the seeds. To every pound of berries, take 1.5 pounds of double refined sugar. Put a gill of water to every pound, and boil your sugar to a thick syrup. Put your gooseberries into a pot. Pour upon them this syrup, and let them stand 2 days. If the syrup be thin, boil it up again till it be ropy, and then pour it on them, and let them stand a week. Then boil it up, and put in the berries. Let them boil 3 minutes. Put them into your glasses, and keep them for use. To preserve currants in strops. Take red currants, and with a pin make a hole at the end of each currant. Pick out all the seeds, and make a syrup of double refined sugar, and pour upon the berries, and let it stand 2 days. Then strip as many currants as will make a gill of juice. Pour the syrup from the berries in strops, and boil up with this currant juice, till it becomes a weak jelly. Then take it off the fire. Put in your currants in strops, and put them into glasses, and keep them for use. To preserve peaches. Take green peaches when a pin will run through the stone. Put them into a pan with water. Set them on a slow fire, and let them stand till they are scalding hot. When they are so done, take them out of the water, take off the skins, and put them into the water you took them out of. Cover them with peach leaves. Put a little alum into the pan, and cover it very close. Set it on a very slow fire, and let it stand till the peaches are green. Then take them out of the water. To every pound of peaches, take 1.5 pounds of double refined sugar. Add water to the sugar, and boil in a clear brass pan till it is a rich syrup. Put your peaches into a pot. Pour this syrup upon them. Cover them close, and let them stand a week. Take the syrup into the pan again, and boil it till it will rope. Then put in your peaches and give them a boil, not exceeding 3 minutes. Then put the peaches into pots, covering them with syrup, and paper them up. If the syrup turns thin, boil it up till it is rich, and pour upon them again. Keep them for desserts, sweetmeat tarts, or send them up in sweetmeat glasses. You do apricots and nectars in the same manner. To make gooseberry wine. Take crystal gooseberries. Pick and bruise them in a wooden bowl or mortar, and to every gallon of bruised berries put 2 quarts of water, and let them stand in a clean tub 24 hours. Then strain them through a hair sieve, take out the skins and seeds, but be sure to press through all the pulp you possibly can. To every gallon of liquor add 4 pounds of double refined sugar. Tun it up into a brandy cask if you have one of the size, and bung it down, but leave the spill hole open. And when it has done fomenting, put in the spike, and let it stand 6 months. Then bottle it. To make red currant wine, gather your currants when they are full ripe. Pick off their stalks and bruise them with a wooden pestle. To every gallon of bruised berries, put a gallon of spring water, and let it stand 2 days, stirring it every 6 hours. Then strain it through a hair sieve, take out the skins and seeds, and press the pulp through the sieve. To every gallon of liquor, put in 3.5 pounds of double refined sugar, and to every 20 quarts, add a pint of the best French brandy. Then tun it and bung it down, leaving open your spill hole. When it has done fomenting, close it up, and in 4 months you may bottle it off. Black currants are done after the same manner. To make cowslip wine. Pick your cowslips. To every pound of flowers, take a gallon of water, and beat the flowers in a marble mortar. Then mix them with the water. To every 6 gallons of water, add a dozen of Seville oranges. Squeeze in their juice. Let 6 of their skins be put in with the juice, and let it stand all night in the tub. Then strain them through a sieve. To every gallon of liquor, add 4 pounds of double refined sugar, and stir all well together. Add 2 spoonfuls of gile yeast, and let it stand all night in the tub. Tun it up into a cask, adding a pint of brandy to every 6 gallons of wine. Bung it down close, leaving the spill hole open till it be done working. Then close it up, and in 6 months' time you may bottle it. To make balm wine. Take balm at full growth, the first cutting, and beat in a mortar or wooden bowl. To every pound of balm, put a gallon of water, and let the water and balm stand 24 hours. Then strain it through a flannel bag, and squeeze its juice out of it. To every gallon of liquor, add 3 pounds of double refined sugar, and stir it till all the sugar is mixed well with the liquor. Then add to it a gill of ale yeast, very fresh off the fats, and tun it up, leaving the spill hole open till it be done fomenting. Then close it up, and it will be ready in 4 months for bottling. To make raisin wine. Take Malaga raisins, and to every stone of raisins put 6 quarts of water in an open-headed cask, and let them stand 12 days, stirring them every day. Then strain the raisins all out of the tub, squeeze them well in your hands as you take them out, and then take a clean hair cloth, put as many raisins into it as will press without letting any of the skins out, and the pulp thereof put into your liquor. After you have strained it through a hair sieve, tun it up, and bung it. Leave out the spill pin till it has done fomenting, and in 6 months' time it will be fit for use. But if not fine in that time, if you have half a hogshead of wine, take an ounce of isinglass, cut it with a knife, and put it into a quart of rough cider. Cut the small end off a whisk, and beat this up every day with the whisk, till all the glass is dissolved. It will be all thick as calf's feet jelly is when it is cold. Then strain it through a fine wood sieve, draw out a little of the wine, and mix with it, and as much more of the wine as the cider and isinglass. Then pour in the isinglass and wine, stirring it with a stick not above 1/4 yard within the cask, and round the cask. Then bung it close down, and it will be fine in 48 hours. This method will fine any of the above wines. To make orange wine. To 6 gallons of water, take 3 dozen of oranges, and squeeze out their juice. Take the rind of 12 oranges, and put into the water with the juice, and let it stand 2 days, stirring it every 6 hours. Then strain it through a hair sieve, and press the juice of the oranges all through the sieve. To every gallon of liquor add 4 pounds of loaf sugar, and put 2 spoonfuls of yeast fresh off the gile fat to it. Tun it up. Put a quart of brandy there too. Leave the spill hole open till it be done working, and it will be fit for bottling in 4 months. To make cherry wine. Take 20 pounds of morella cherries full ripe, and bruise them. Take 2 gallons of red currants stripped from the stalks and bruised with a wooden pestle, and put them in a clean vessel, open-headed. To every gallon add a gallon of boiling water. Stir all together, and let it stand 48 hours, stirring it up every 6 hours. Then strain it through a hair sieve, and to every gallon of liquor add 3 pounds of double-refined sugar. Put it into a brandy cask. Leave the spill pin open till it be done working, and in 3 months you may bottle it off. To make elder wine. Strip your elderberries off the stalks. Put them into a large, deep earthen pot. Cover it close, and set it in an oven all night. Then take it out of the oven, and strain off the juice into a clean pot. To every gallon of juice put a gallon of water, and to every gallon of liquor put 3 pounds of loaf sugar. Put it into a cask that has had brandy in it, bung it down, leaving the spill hole open, and when it has done fomenting, close it up. To make bramble wine. Infuse your bramble berries as above directed. To every gallon of juice add 2 gallons of water, and to every gallon of liquor put 3 pounds of loaf sugar. Stir it well till all the sugar is dissolved, and let it stand 20 hours in the tub you mix it in. Then tun it up into a cask, leaving your spill hole open, and when it has done fomenting, close it up. It will be ready for bottling in 6 months, and fit for drinking. To pickle mushrooms. Take the close buttons, cut off their stalks, and put them into water an hour. Then take a brush made of rice. Strain and wash your mushrooms with this brush, and put as much water as the mushrooms require to cover them, so that this brush takes the scurf off the mushrooms. Then give them plenty of clean water, and wash them with the brush as before. Then take them into a clean colander, having a clean pan that just holds the mushrooms. Put them into it, and cover it close. Set it on a clear fire with nothing but the mushrooms, which will discharge as much of their own liquor as will cover them, and let them boil in this liquor 5 minutes. In which time make a brine of salt and water so strong as to bear an egg. Then drain the liquor from the mushrooms, put them into this salt brine, and let them stand 5 days, stirring them every day. Make another brine as strong as the former, put in the mushrooms, let them stand a week longer, and this is physicking the mushrooms. Then add to them some distilled vinegar, and let them lie 14 days. After all, bottle them. Every bottle will take a gill of distilled vinegar, and put 2 blades of mace into each bottle. This will keep either close or open in bottles or jars. Now the juice that the mushrooms discharges in the pan is the best of catsup. If you have a pint of it, add 3 spoonfuls of beef brine, if it be fresh and perfectly sweet. Also mace, nutmeg, cloves, and pepper powdered, and boil it, filtering it through a flannel bag. This will be proper for white sauces. To pickle walnuts. Take walnuts when they are almost at their full growth, but that a pin will run through them. Then pick off their stalks, rub them with a coarse cloth, make a brine of salt, and let it be so strong as to bear an egg. Then put in your walnuts and lay a board upon them to keep them under the brine, and let them lie in this brine 6 days. Then make a fresh brine, pour off this from them, and put in the fresh brine. Let them stand 10 days longer, and then take and dry them with a coarse cloth. To every 100 of walnuts take a gill of mustard seed. Lay your walnuts in layers, and upon every layer strew your mustard proportionably. And when your jar is full, have some of the best beer vinegar and put in. For every 100 of walnuts have Jamaica and black pepper of each an ounce, mace and nutmeg of each half an ounce, and boil up in the vinegar. Pour it boiling upon the walnuts, and put a bladder over them. Don't use them till the bitter be overcome by the pickle and hot spices. This pickle makes sauces richer than catsup made of mushrooms. To make walnut catsup. Take 400 of walnuts, such as before described, and with a sharp penknife cut off all the pulpy part till you are at the inner shell, and be careful to keep that whole. Beat the green pulp in a mortar, and to every pint of the pulp add a spoonful of fresh beef brine, and let it lie 20 hours. Then take the shells that you cut the green part of the walnut from, and put them into a jar. Make a brine of milk whey. Pour it boiling hot upon the shells, and let them stand 24 hours. Then take your walnut pulp and strain it through a clean, coarse linen cloth. Squeeze all the juice you can possibly get out of it, and to every pint of this juice add nutmeg, mace, and black pepper of each 1/4 of an ounce, and half that quantity of cloves. Then boil it up, but do not make any use of it till the bitter is gone off. A teaspoonful of this will make sauce rich for fish or any made dish. Nor is there anything so agreeable to the taste, for I never knew that the most delicate palate objected it, nor the tenderest stomach was offended therewith. Then you take the walnuts out of the whey, and with a flannel rag wash all the scurf off them into clear water. Then put them into bottles with wide mouths, fill them up with distilled vinegar that has been distilled from beer vinegar, and hot spices. This is a delicious pretty pickle that very few are acquainted with. To pickle onions. Take onions no larger than small nutmegs, pour boiling water upon them, and take off their brown coat. Put the onions into a brine of milk with salt and water into a pan, and take the onions out of the milk brine into a colander. When the salt and water boils, put them in, and let them boil 2 minutes. Then take them out of the water and lay them on a cloth to cool. Put them into bottles with distilled vinegar, and keep them for use. To pickle cauliflowers. Let your cauliflowers be very white and without frickles, and let them be close. Cut them into buds and boil them in a brine of salt and water 1 minute. Then take them out and lay them to cool. When they are cold, put them into jars and fill them with distilled vinegar. Then tie them down close with a bladder and packthread for use. To pickle turnips. Cut your turnips into various shapes, that you may have them for garnishing, and cut them 1/4 of an inch thick. Let your turnips be clear of worm-eaten, and let them boil a minute in salt and water. Then take them out into a coarse cloth, and when they are cold and all the water drained out, put them into a glass jar. Fill them up with distilled vinegar, cover them close with a bladder, and keep them for use. To pickle kidney beans. Take whey after it is scalded and the curds from it. Make a brine so strong as to bear an egg. Let your beans be young and dry pulled. Put them into the whey brine till their color is discharged. When they are of a bright yellow, take them out of the whey into a colander, and dry them with a coarse cloth. Then put them into a brass pan and cover them with beer vinegar. Put in some dill and cover them close down. Put paper round the edge of your cover, and set the pan a good distance from the fire, if it be hot. But if slow, it need not be at so great a distance, and let it stand till the beans turn grass green. Then take them out of this vinegar and put them into a jar, and make pickle of fresh beer vinegar, Jamaica and black pepper, and race ginger boiled up. Pour it upon your beans, and keep them for use. The aforesaid receipts is a rule to pickle gherkins, cucumbers, parsley, radish pods, nasturtium buds, broom buds, or bur-tree buds. So there is no need of telling the tale oftener over than is necessary. To mango cucumbers. Take large cucumbers and cut a long narrow piece out of each. With the mouth of a teaspoon pick out all the seeds and pulp of it. Gather out all the seeds and mix them with white mustard seed, aspersion buds, shallot, and some salt. Fill the cucumbers with this mixture and put them close down in a jar. Boil up beer vinegar, salt, Jamaica and black pepper, with race ginger, and pour upon the mangoes. Cover them close and let them stand 2 days. Then boil up the pickle again, and repeat it till your mangoes are green, and keep them for use. To mango apples. There is a long green apple called a finger. Take of this sort, and with a penknife cut a round piece out at each end. With an apple scoop take out all the core, and fill the place with horseradish, white mustard, and a little mace. Put the pieces on at each end from whence they were taken, and sew it up with a needle and thread. Pack them close up into a jar, and boil beer vinegar with Jamaica and black pepper, race ginger, and salt, and pour it boiling hot upon the mangoes. Let them stand, and repeat the boiling of the vinegar till you see your mangoes turn green. Then cover them with a bladder, and keep them for use. To mango melons. Take little melons of the latter growth, when the first growth is over, and cut a long piece out of the side. Take out the seed, and put your melons in way till they have discharged their color. Then take as much vinegar as you have to cucumbers to green them, and cover the melons with it. Place them at a little distance from the fire till they are green. Then take them up, and when they are cold, take the seeds you took out of them, and mix with white mustard, horseradish cut small, and nasturtium seed. Mix all well, fill up your melons, and put the pieces you cut out into their proper places. Take 4 yards of penny tape to roll up the melons, and put them into a jar. Boil up beer vinegar, Jamaica and black pepper, and race ginger, and pour boiling upon the melons. Cover them with a paper, and keep them close for use. To pickle Dutch cabbage. Take a red cabbage, cut it into 4 quarters. Take out the core. With a sharp knife, cut your cabbage, lay it into a wooden dish, mix it with salt, and let it lie 5 days, turning it with your hands every day. When it has lain the above time, take up a handful and squeeze with all your strength, and when 1 handful is done, take another, till you have squeezed it all. Then set upon a clear fire a broad pan, and boil as much beer vinegar as will cover the cabbage, and have Jamaica and black pepper and race ginger. When it boils, put in the cabbage, and let it not boil above a minute. Then take it up, put it into a jar, and keep it close covered for use. You may put into it some red beet root. To pickle pumpkins. Take a pumpkin and cut into 1/2-inch slices, after you have taken out all the seed. Cut it into various forms, so as to make ornamental for garnishing, such as carved work, etc. The outside is a bright rich yellow. Boil white wine vinegar and hot spices, and pour upon your mango into a jar 3 sundry times, and keep for use. To pickle barberry berries. Take barberry berries when they are full ripe. Pick all the leaves from off the stalks. Take all the small barberry berries and beat in a mortar. Then take a brine of salt so strong as to bear an egg, and boil the beaten barberry berries in it. Put them through a flannel bag, and boil it up again. Powder 2 pennyworth of cochineal, and put to it. Then put the berries into a jar, and pour this brine boiling upon them, and lay a piece of flannel over the barberry berries within the jar. Cover the jar, and keep them for garnishing fish, fowl, rabbits, or any other made dish. To make macaroons. Take a pound of Jordan almonds, blanch and beat them in a marble mortar to a paste. Take the whites of 5 eggs and a pound of beat and sifted loaf sugar, and mix with the whites of the eggs. Beat the sugar and whites 1/4 of an hour with a whisk, before you mix it with the almond paste. Then add to it a glass of orange flower water, and beat all well with a wooden pestle a quarter of an hour. Lay some wafer paper upon wires, and drop the macaroons on the paper. Set them in a sharp oven, and a quarter of an hour will bake them. To make ratafia drops, take a pound of Jordan almonds and half a pound of bitter almonds. Blanch and beat them to paste. Take a pound and a half of beaten and sifted fine loaf sugar. Add 3 eggs, and beat the eggs, sugar, and almond paste all well together till they become a very stiff paste. Add to it a glass of ratafia or French brandy. You must have a marble mortar for your purpose, and observe to have your ingredients not only worked to a proper stiffness, but also to a very fine smoothness. Then drop it on cap paper in drops as big as large nutmegs. Bake them brown in a sharp oven, and keep them for use. To make a biscuit cake, beat and sift a pound of loaf sugar. Take a pound of eggs and beat with the sugar till it is thick. Add to it a pound of fine London flour. Put it into a cake pan, after you have rubbed the pan with butter, and bake it in a slow oven. To make biscuit drops, take a pound of loaf sugar well beat and sifted through a hair sieve. Beat 4 eggs with the sugar till it is very white and thick. Take a pound and a quarter of the finest London flour, and let it stand drying before the fire a quarter of an hour. Then mix it with the eggs and sugar, adding a glass of orange flower water to it, and when it is well mixed, drop it on grey paper, and bake them in a slow oven. Be exceeding careful to take your papers off whilst hot, for if they are suffered to cool, they will by no means part with their paper.